Hi everybody and welcome to the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey and as always I'm joined by my co-host Sam Proof. Today on the show we're going to be looking at a couple of maybe slightly more advanced OBS Studio plugins. We're going to be looking at closed captioning via Google speech recognition and also the advanced scene switcher, which I'm really interested to learn more about because what little I've seen of it has kind of boggled my mind. But we're doing that now, and we're going out live to all the various places. So let us know in the chat where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you've had any experience with either of these plugins, or if they're just a plugin that you're excited to share with us, we'd love to hear that as well. But Sam, how are you doing? How's your week been? I suspect it's been another busy one.
Yeah, the whole work thing is very stressful. I don't like it. I don't think we need to do that anymore. It's been very active. We've got a lot of client stuff happening, and back and forth with all of that. However, Monday, taking a day off basically, and taking the girls to Universal City, which is kind of like Universal's very small version of Disneyland, but it does have some Harry Potter stuff, so that's going to be exciting for them. I mean, we've done it a couple times, but they do love it. And aside from that, yeah, it just status quo over here. How's things with you?
Things are going pretty well with me. I finally got over that 500 subscriber mark on the Learn Live Streaming
Nice.
channel on YouTube, so that was really exciting. I did have to beg and plead a little bit with a lot of people to make that happen, but we did get there in the end, so that was really, really good. I just want to check in with the chat. It's one of those things. I've got to remember to press yet another button to make sure we got the chat. But PGZ Cast says, let's go with the fire
That's
emoji.
me.
That's Sam. Of course it is.
I was trying to test something which didn't actually work. So that's yeah. I had gotten the new app version of the Social Stream Ninja, and I was trying to set that up, and I don't know why it's not working. But
we might
let's
need
see.
to
Maybe there's a
revisit
button.
that in a future show. And hello to
Yeah.
Saeed, who's watching from Germany, which we love, but I always feel bad that I'm depriving him of sleep. But I think he's basically nocturnal anyway. But let's get stuck into it. So today we're going to be looking at these two different plugins. So we've got the closed captioning via Google speech recognition, which I will tackle first of all, and then Sam will talk to us about the advanced scene switcher. So let us know in the comments, if you do have any sort of thing that you'd like us to talk about, or questions or comments. I should say up front, I made a video about this 6 months ago, and I guess I didn't do a very good job of explaining this because my goodness, I'm being roasted in the comments, and it's ironically it's kind of my most popular video at the moment. So I thought it would be a really good opportunity to revisit this. So let's check it out. First of all, this is the closed captioning via Google Speech Recognition plugin. So these plugins are all available from obsproject.com. You can check out the repository over there. But this essentially is something that will let you, it actually does a number of different things in terms of closed captions and open captions. So just as a bit of a definition, those closed captions are the captions that you can turn on or off via software. The open captions are the ones that are burnt into the video. But this uses Google technology essentially to do this in a real time sense, and I thought this would be a good thing to play with. It is really, really worthwhile to note that AI, machine learning, none of these comments are probably going to be perfect, but there are things that we can do to use them as a starting point. So what you can do is when you go to this page, and the link should be in the video description, you can go to download. So it'll actually take you to the GitHub repository. All you really need to do is sort of download the version that's appropriate for your operating system. So we've got Linux, we've got Mac OS, and we've got Windows. Basically, download this. There's a single file in here that you just need to copy over to OBS Studio, wherever you happen to be running that. And then away you go. And just make sure you've closed OBS. Then copy the file over, then open OBS again. So I'm just going to jump to my other version of OBS that's running here in the background. So over here, and there's a really good chance that you will already have this doc open, but once it's installed, if you go to docs, if you don't see this, there is a doc called captions. And it's going to show up right behind me, which is not a particularly useful place for this demonstration, so I might move it over here. So we've got the captions here. At the moment, they're disabled by default. So let's actually open up these settings and see what we've got to work with. Uh, so we've got a whole bunch of different things in here, and I don't want to overwhelm you, but there's some really cool stuff in here that might be worth looking at. So we have this dialog box and captioning enabled. So whether you've turned it on or off, and there's a good chance you don't want it on all the time. You probably only want it on for specific use cases. You can sort of say what you're captioning, caption when it is heard on stream, or mute source is heard on stream. So you can actually caption the things you're not saying or aren't going out live, which is kind of interesting. We do have some English, some different language options. So there's a whole bunch of different things in here. Again, this is not perfect, so it's probably a good starting point, but you can experiment with those as well. There is a profanity filter, which you can turn on or off. Although it does note that it's unreliable, so it's only for advisement. If you're doing native captions on certain platforms, and it looks like Twitch is probably the notable option here, you can do that as well. How many lines of captions? And again, it's defaulting to 3. There's this great option called add punctuation. So if you want it to try and form sentences as best as it can, you can do that as well. Capitalization, we can go all caps, normal English like, or all lowercase. Force line breaks and caption timeout options as well. So just keep in mind that those ones are really just for the native options, specifically in Twitch. We do have transcripts. We do have, so you can actually save this. It doesn't necessarily need to be on your video, but it can be saving to a file that you can use later on. We've got the open captions options here, and we've got some text filtering. So I'm going to hopefully walk you through some of this in the next little while. And I guess the first thing, the use case that I kind of imagined when I first was playing with this is just to actually have some text on the screen. We've got a comment here. So where is Sam? He is actually here. It's just that we're taking turns to demonstrate different plugins. So you'll see and hear more of him as we go along. Hello to our LinkedIn user as well. I'm not entirely sure who you are, but thank you for joining us. Okay, so what I want to do, I mean, first of all, we need an audio source that we can actually caption. So I'm going to come over to my sources, and I'm going to go and use the plus sign, and I'm just going to go to audio input capture, and we'll say microphone, and I'm just going to grab my Rodecaster stereo and go okay. So I guess the other thing too, like, yes, so Sam is just mentioning that he'll be doing the second half of the show as well. So we'll certainly get to his advanced scene switching stuff in a little bit. But I just wanted to note too, there's a really good chance when you start with OBS Studio, you'll get this desktop audio and mic auxiliary options. I don't like them. I like to hide them and just mute them and just use the things myself. So essentially what we've done now is we've got the microphone. You can see that it's jumping around as I talk. What I want to do is actually create somewhere where I can export some, show some text on the screen essentially. So I'm going to go down to the plus sign and I'm going to go and add text GDI plus. There is one thing to note about this text GDI plus option. This is basically a Windows thing. There's slightly different options for Linux and Mac OS. So you might need to actually check out the documentation for that. And I guess I was looking at this during the week. I'm just going to jump out of here for a second and show you something else. Yeah, so the great thing about this is if you check out the knowledge base on OBS project, it's got some great information, including which options are available for which platform. So you'll see that GDI Plus is available for Windows, but not Mac or Linux. And it sort of goes down and explains the variations. So on a Mac or Linux, you can use text free type 2. So again, I don't think it really matters too much for what we're doing today, but I just wanted to call that out in case that was confusing. I'm going to add some text in here and just say captions 1, 2, 3. And I guess the thing about this is that we want to think about what our font looks like. I'm going to make this a bit smaller. I'm not really sure how much smaller until I press on that and go okay. And what I want to do, I'm going to drag this down here. Again, there's a really good chance that you'll need to actually play with this a little bit to get it right. But what I want to do is if I right click on the captions and go to transform and go to edit transform, I can sort of adjust how this works. And the big thing about this is actually the bounding box, because we kind of need a bounding box for this to not jump all over the place. And again, I'm going to go back to past John because I know he left an instruction here that current John has completely forgotten about. So this is the original video I made about this, and I do have some text instructions here. If you want to check that out, that is actually, you can go to johnlacey.com/OBS captions to see that information. But essentially, what I'm just looking at here is whether we've got the bounding box options. So maximum size only is the one that I've chosen in the past. So let's do that again. So I'll go maximum size only. I can decide how wide I want this to be. Maybe I want it to be, you know, I can sort of adjust how that looks. But now if I go into my options for the closed captions, click on that little cog, and we go back to the general options. I'm going to go captioning enabled. Testing, 1, 2, 3. I might need to go save actually. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And there's another thing we do need to do, but if I go to show preview, testing, 1, 2, 3. You're killing me here. So I might need to actually show you another option in a second for that. But basically, what I want to do is actually say, what are we? Of course, this is the mistake I'm doing. I haven't told it what audio source I actually want it to be captioning. So in this case, I want to go to my microphone, which I believe I called microphone, and let's go show preview. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Maybe I shouldn't have done this live. Maybe it was always going to be a disaster, but that's okay. Testing, 1, 2, 3. There we go. We're finally there. So I just want to give you some sense that this may actually take a little bit of doing, and I know it's not the most intuitive thing all of the time. But you'll see over here in the when this is actually enabled, and again, it probably isn't enabled too much now because of a simple feature that I'll show you in a second. But basically, we've got this. We're going to say when we're going to actually go to the open captions option. And what I want to show you here is that if we go add text output, this will give us the ability to put this on our text output. So if you come in here, if you've installed this plugin some time ago and you come to select a text source and this doesn't give you any options at all, this plugin did actually break at some point in the past. So if you do encounter this, go back in, download it again, and sort of reinstall it, and it should be okay. So there we can go from here. I might make this maybe 2 lines. I might try and add the capitalization. Again, it's not always perfect, but it might be worthwhile to give that a go. So testing, 1, 2, 3. So that's working there. But again, what I need to sort of explain to this is when it needs to actually start doing its thing. So whether it's heard on stream, save transcriptions, when to actually do that. So I think what I'll do right now, let's just bring Sam back on for a second, and I think it's this one here. Okay, it's not that one there. That's the one I want. Ignore that for a second, and let me just turn that off over here. So again, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening in the chat, and I think it's mostly people laughing at my bad demonstration skills, which is totally fine.
And we're having a side conversation.
Of course,
if I'm not on screen, I actually get to chat with people.
I know, it's fun. I sort of did a replay of a show that we did previously, and just hanging out in the chat comments is really, really fun. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to a quick promo. I'm going to come back and talk some more about this plugin and hopefully have a few fewer issues, shall we say. And of course, that's not the button for that either. I'm having a great day, everybody. It'll be hilarious if nothing else.
We are constantly training our cats every interaction that we have with them. So when Johan would get on my counter before, this is 10 years ago, before I was the cat expert that I am now, Johan would jump on the counter. What was the first thing I did? I'd say his name, Johan. He loves that. That's a reward for him. He said, you just said my name. I would go over to him and I'd talk to him and be like, you can't be on the counter. Johan loves when I talk to him. Ding, that's another reward for Johan. I'd pick him up, and put him on the ground, but I didn't want him to think I was mad at him. So when I'd pick him up very nicely and kiss him on the head and say, I love you, but you can't be here. I put him on the ground. I had just done 3 things that rewarded him for being on the counter. So I was encouraging him to continue doing that.
And that's the promo for Sam's podcast, Just Kidding Around, which you can learn more about over at cuteavalanche.tv. And I have a feeling I don't have my Mix It Up chat in the right place either, because I didn't get that message, but that's okay. We will persist. We will give this a go. So it's funny. I've genuinely felt really bad about this tutorial for the last 6 months, and I kind of, part of the reason it went so badly last time was because I was recording in OBS when I was demonstrating it, and because of that, I couldn't sort of turn an option on, and people have been roasting me in the comments ever since. So I do kind of, and again, like, I mean, it's probably a good opportunity to give you a sense of just how often things can go wrong, and whether you even want to play with this one at all. But let's get stuck back into it. So I will go this one here and this one here. So if we go back to our options, I guess, like, what I'm kind of sensing here is this is I think this is the option that we kind of want to explore a little bit. So where it's actually outputting is streams only, local recordings only. I'm going to go streams and local recordings. And I'm going to save this. And I'm going to actually start recording. And this is kind of the problem I had in the original tutorial, because I think I do actually need to be recording or streaming, and then this will happen. So you will see that it starts actually bringing that in. And again, there's a good chance that you may need to actually sort of adjust these captions. So it could be that I need to make this larger or smaller. And again, it's a really good idea to play with this nonetheless, and actually sort of get a sense of what this might look like. So again, I don't know this is perfect, and I guess what I want to say is it's not perfect, and computers are never perfect, machines are never particularly perfect, but you can see that it is having a go at sort of translating the things I'm saying in real time. And to be honest, I think it's doing a much better job than I would have thought, if I'm being honest. I see a lot of really bad mistranslations, and I guess that depends on how clearly you're speaking, and maybe accents and other considerations. So essentially that's the ability to bring that on. And again, I think probably what I want to do, and I'm not sure how well this will work while I'm doing it in real time, but let me try and see if I can make this a little bit larger. And I could probably just grab it and scale it in that regard. So it's kind of up to you, but how you want to do this. So and it's really encouraging to hear that people in the chat still love me, even though I clearly make mistakes and do stuff all the time. So I guess the thing that I want to bring your attention to, and I'm going to stop this recording in this version of OBS, just to stop it from translating. So you'll see that you do need to actually go in, and I totally forgot about that one. So make sure you do sort of specify the caption source. So that's the audio that's coming in, and then where you're going to output this to. And again, if you don't have the right thing selected here, if you say streams only and you're not streaming, it's not going to be adding those captions. But streams and local recording is a pretty good option. So that's the open captions. And again, you can sort of describe the line length and the number of lines, adding the punctuation, normal English like there as well. So this second tab is really interesting because you can actually save standalone transcripts. So again, this may not be perfect, but it could be a really good first pass of where we want to actually do this. So again, save transcripts for streams, recordings, virtual camera, and the subrip file, which is probably the format I would go with, but you can also do stuff with text files as well. You can specify the folder you want this to save out as, and you can sort of give it a custom name if you want, and adjust all of those. They've got some different options. So we can do that now. So I'm going to click save, and I'm going to start recording again. Testing 1, 2, 3. Most importantly, doesn't include anything we don't need, like hip replacement, which is actually just a silly thing that was on a Australian health insurance ad from a million years ago. So I don't know why that's my go-to for explaining these things. But anyway, be that as it may, if I stop recording now, and if I go back into the settings, because I'm not really entirely sure where this was actually putting this. So it looks like it's just defaulting to OBS. So I might even just bring over a folder over here. It's probably not the place you want to actually save this. In fact, maybe I'll do that again. Let's actually specify a proper folder. So let's go and choose a folder. I'm going to go to my videos and I will say transcripts. I'm going to select this folder. Again, it's probably really worthwhile to actually adjust these as well, the custom names. But let's just leave it like that for the moment. And again, I'll start recording. Hi everybody, and welcome to the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Sam Proof. Today on the show, we're looking at the closed caption options via this wonderful OBS plugin. And I'll stop recording. And I'm just going to pop over here and go to videos. Go to my transcripts. And again, you probably would want to give this a more meaningful name. I'm just going to open this up in Notepad. And it's just defaulted to the other screen. So essentially, it's got this here. And to be honest, that's probably not great in the sense that it's given me one really, really long caption. So I probably want to actually go into those settings and just say, you know, probably don't want it quite that long. Although, again, that's something you can actually upload to YouTube, and you can either edit it in the YouTube options. It'll actually give you sort of caption by caption ability to copy and paste that, and you can adjust those settings there as well. So you've got that. Another thing that is really, really cool is that if you find that you use words that this plugin doesn't understand at all, and it makes a mess of them, you know, and I'll give you an example. If I start recording here, johnlacey.com, you'll see here that it's actually john-lacey.com, which is not quite what I want. So I'm going to stop the recording. And I go back into these settings. We have these text filtering options. So if anything pops up in here that's a little bit weird, a little bit wrong, we can actually tell it to do something different. So I can go add text replacement. So I want to replace john-lacey.com with, just double click in here, johnlacey.com. So that's a good one. It could be that maybe you're using something that should have a copyright or a trademark symbol. There's a certain social media platform that is very protective, shall we say, of their copyright. So I actually have a button on my Stream Deck for this particular text that I'll output here. And now, if I just save those options, and again, we go start recording, johnlacey.com, you'll see that it actually fixed it after I finished speaking. And again, if I say LinkedIn, it'll include that registered trademark symbol there too. So that's really, really cool. So if you do actually have something that isn't translating properly and it's always wrong, and maybe it doesn't understand your accent, maybe you just have a particular way of talking that the robots don't really get, you can sort of try and add that into that list. And it could be all kinds of things. Like you could even have shortcuts for things, and you might want to go into the text filtering and actually set those up to work a little bit better. So again, in summary, and I realize I'll probably do another video about this and upload it, because like I said, this has been really insanely popular. There's obviously a lot of people that are interested in trying this out, but it does have a few steps. So first of all, if you've downloaded this plugin in the last 6 to 12 months, go and grab it again. There were some bugs there. We want to make sure we enable captioning from the settings. We want to specify the audio source that you're actually using. You want to just make sure that you've adjusted this native captions option again. So are you captioning for streams only, local recordings only, stream and local recordings, which is probably what I would go with. And once you've done that, you can look at the transcript options. You can specify where you want those. Again, if you decide you don't want those anymore, you can just tick that one checkbox that says save transcripts and it will stop doing that. We can also add those open captions again. And I think in some ways the big part of this that you'll need to sort of suss out a little bit is actually what does this look like in terms of the text source itself. So how wide it is, what those bounding options are. And again, it's probably something you can sort of play with. You can adjust the fonts and the colors and all of the things. So that's really, really useful. And finally, the text filtering options. I really, really like this because, like I said, if there are times when it doesn't quite understand what you mean, you have the ability to sort of, give it some guidance about the kinds of things it needs to replace. So those are all incredibly useful. I guess the only other thing I would note about this is this, and the thing that you're seeing in this portable version of OBS behind me is kind of how I started my videos. So I would always have this dark gray or black bar, and it was actually just a section where I could leave this in case I wanted to have those burnt on captions. So if you actually go out live and maybe the captions do get stuffed up, and you can literally just drag your recording into your software, put another box over the top of it, just take that SRT file that it's generated, correct any errors that might be in there, and just export that again, and you're pretty much good to go from there. So, I hope that makes sense. Again, I know it's been a bit of a personal weakness for me, shall we say? But yes, and again, I've got to make sure I press the right buttons because we're doing the show a little bit differently. But I'm hoping that makes sense. So Stefan is sort of saying that he will definitely try this and that he still loves me. So that's nice. So again, give it a go. It's like, it is free. So in some ways you may get what you pay for. But I find that one is a really great starting point for automated captions. Okay, so let's jump to the next promo. We'll come back and we'll talk about the advanced scene switcher, which I'm very excited to learn about because you can do all the things with all the macros, and it's honestly a bit mind-boggling.
Hi, I'm John Lacey, and in Build a Presentation Muscle, I want to talk about finding your voice, refining and sharing your message, using tools and technology to share that message, and looking after yourself as a creator.
Okay, and that's a promo for my podcast, Build a Presentation Muscle, the podcast about showcasing your expertise through content creation. And you can learn more about that one over at johnlacey.com. So, I guess we are having a little bit of issues today with the video quality on Sam's end. I'm not really sure what it is because video seems to indicate that we have a pretty good signal from his end. So I'm not really sure what it is. But again, hopefully he's live recording this. So if we need to edit it and do it later, we can. But Sam, talk to us a little bit about the advanced scene switcher, because I feel like the operative word here is advanced. It's kind of amazing, but it's kind of a little overwhelming, I think. So can you talk to me about that for a second?
Yeah, sure. So first off, the advanced scene switcher does a lot more than just switch scenes. I think it's just a title that it had been, given a long, long time ago when it probably just did that. But really, it can do a myriad of macros based on different triggers that will then enable scene switching, source switching, effects. You can start and stop your stream, start and stop the record, all of those kind of things through this. It is basically a giant catch-all macro to automate OBS. So I've used this to do things like, for example, the kitten cam when we were doing YouTube. YouTube has a limit where past 11 hours you don't get your get an archive, so it's not replayable, right? You just get sort of a back end on your dashboard, but your viewers can't see it anymore. So when I was running a second camera, a second stream to just YouTube, I had it at about 10 hours and 59 minutes, stop the stream automatically, wait 30 seconds, switch back to an intro sort of scene, and then restart the stream 30 seconds later. So that full minute gap. And then it would just do that on loop, right? So we would keep getting these sort of 11-hour archives. You can also use it to, just for those of you who do like game streams or have a starting soon screen where it counts down for a minute or whatever it is. once that counter is done, and I'm going to show you in my video how to do this, it'll then just go straight to your live stream, like a full screen, or you can even have it daisy chain through a bunch of different videos, like an intro and cold open and so on and so forth. And I'll show you that in another video that's coming up. And it's really powerful. Like, you can do just so many things with it. And if you add like the Move plugin, you believe the computer gets up and does its own thing, and you go get coffee and let it stream on its own, and it's done. I'm just kidding. But yeah, it does a lot. If you think, oh man, the Stream Deck's great, but wouldn't it be nice if I didn't still make these mistakes when I hit these buttons? Not calling John out, but now you could probably automate it through the scene switcher, so that if you're doing a show that starts at a set time every week, you put it on a specific scene and let it ride it out. I'm pretty sure I can get it to start at that exact time. Otherwise, I would use Mix It Up. I said it out loud, and then I was like, I'm not sure the workflow on that. I'll have to check, but pretty sure I can do it.
And
Anyway.
Seed's just saying that the overwhelming scene switcher wouldn't be the best name, I guess, for that plugin. So yeah, and Sam was kind of grilling me a little bit about starting a little bit late this morning, and yes, because we're doing the show a little bit differently, I have. And I've said this on previous shows, I've got 30 buttons, and today it's actually more in the order of 36 buttons to play with, and I probably need to name these a little bit better. But anyway, is there anything that you want to tell us before we go to this first video to set up the scene about getting started?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to assume that you already know how to download and install a plugin for OBS, but I did make this video for just a quick sort of tutorial on a simple automation, as well as one trick that is a customization to the scene switcher that I prefer, which really helps in sort of the organization side. But they made, this is going to kind of revert it to an older state, whereas they have made it so that you really just need two tabs, one which is general, that gives you your basic settings, and then one that is macro that lets you create all of those automations. But I'm going to show you how to get some more tabs on there.
Okay, awesome. Let's check it out.
All right, today we're going to be taking a look at the Advanced Scene Switcher plugin that is available for OBS, and it is a really cool automation tool. It does a lot more than just switch scenes, but let's go take a look at that. So first, I want to show you this quick little trick here. You go to your Tools menu, and it'll be right toward the top there, Advanced Scene Switcher. Select that. And if you're opening this for the first time, you're just probably going to see two tabs, General and Macro. In the past, they had a bunch of other tabs that were a little more specific. Everything can be done by macro, but for people like me, who've got that ADH brain, it might actually behoove you to turn on the other tabs. So go over to General. You're going to scroll down to the bottom here where it says Hide Tabs, which can be represented via macros. Untick that, and all of your macro tabs show up at the top there. You should note whether or not your Advanced Scene Switcher is inactive or not. You will need to start it at some point, but for now we'll leave it there. So we'll go through these really quick. You've got your macro, which is a catch-all to everything. I never really use title or executable. Region will let you make triggers happen based on where your cursor is. So if you watch, my cursor is being tracked on the screen. So if you're a gamer or a presenter, you can have your OBS automatically switch to a scene that is closer in on something like your game HUD or a specific aspect of a slide, things like that, based on cursor movement alone. Media will let you do things like when a video stops, you can play a new video or go to a new scene. This is really great if you have like an intro that you do and it's very timed out. You could daisy chain these so you have an intro goes into a cold open goes into a quick bio about your guest, and then that goes into a scene with you and your guest talking, all automated. You don't have to do a bunch of button pressing as a video is getting to the end. You're like, and go. No, it's all just does it. and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of other things here. File, random. I've seen people do a bunch of random camera flips. If you have a bunch of cameras, it'll go like boom, 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 get this crazy effect. Time. Time's another really useful one, I think. So if you've got like a start timer, that kind of thing, which you may have seen on this scene as I pulled up the timer, the advanced scene switcher. When that is over, you can automatically go into your scene. This is also useful if you're trying to start and stop your stream. For people who do things like a Facebook stream that ends every 8 hours, but you want to automatically start another stream after that, or your YouTube only allots, I believe it's 11 hours before the archive of that stream will not be turned into a VOD, so it's no longer a playable archive. So you might want to automate that kind of thing. We're at 10 hours and 59 minutes. It stops, waits a minute, and comes back on, which is something I've done with the kitten cam in the past for exactly that reason, and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of other things, audio triggers and idle and stuff like that. So if it waits long enough, it'll come in. Yeah, so that's a really good trick to customize your advanced scene switcher in OBS. I think it's primarily really useful just for the organizational ability that it provides alone. So you know all of your timed functions are under one tab, all of your media functions are another tab, and so on and so forth. I am going to show you in just a second how to use the catch-all macro to make a timed function, and that will show you just the basic ins and outs of how to use it. If you want to see more videos like this on Advanced Scene Switcher for OBS, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/samproof. And let me know if you have a specific use case that you would like to try to automate, and I might take that comment and turn it into a video in the future on my YouTube. Right now, I'm going to show you how to use the Advanced Scene Switcher in OBS, the macro tab, to create a simple timed function, counts down from 5, and switches to a new scene. All right, so I am going to show you how to do a really quick macro here, and we are going to use the time constraint, but I'm going to show you how to do it in here. So we will call this 5 second. Okay. And so we'll hit this plus that is in the first of the edit macro things, and we'll go for if is right, and then we'll change our second drop down to timer fixed duration. We'll make that 5 seconds. Perfect. And then we'll go to our second field down here and add a plus to that. And this is our effect. So we're going to switch our scene. We're going to stay in program, but you could have this go to preview if you actually want to manually toggle the change. I'm just going to have it go to this waiting scene, and we'll use, whoopsie, apparently that's a pop-out dock. Look at that. We'll use, we'll use our glitch stinger, and we're going to go back over. You'll see that time remaining is paused right now. So we're going to go back over to our general tab and make sure our scene switcher is active. Now, if I look at the macro, it is actively changing. And there you go. Right behind the scenes, it did it. So we'll do this again. And there, 5 seconds. And made that switch. Okay. And that is a simple sample of how the advanced scene switcher works. You can do a lot with it, and we'll take a look at more.
Okay, so I mean that's a really useful example. So I'm kind of wondering, obviously you can have those time sequences, and even that video that we just watched, then I went to a different scene manually via my Stream Deck button, and I came back to this one manually. So I'm guessing that might be a good use case that potentially, if you go to if you go to play a video, that once it's done, however many seconds or minutes that is, we could go back to it. But I'm kind of imagining like what other sort of examples you might have in terms of where you might want to automate the scene switching.
Sure. So this thing is like so powerful that it's got just a bunch of sort of these triggers that even I haven't even tried yet. There's like some really sort of, niche use cases for things that like executables and scripts and all of that kind of stuff. And like there's even a network trigger. I have no idea who would use that and why, but it's there. But for the most part, for I think the common person who's doing like a podcast or a stream or a game, a game stream, things like that, you can do a bunch of really cool things. I think something I kind of touched on was there's a region tab. So if you are a presenter or a game streamer, you can kind of follow the cursor at certain points on the stream, on your screen or on different monitors, automate to a different sort of scene or even a move transition. This is very similar to the scroll and zoom plugin in theory. I've never used that one, so I'm just assuming. But yeah, you could have specific scenes that if you are, a presenter and you're using that cursor and you're doing different things, it'll just follow along and zoom in on that. So like if you're showing where you're going to be clicking, it's going to go right in there and get a close-up shot of that area of your screen. Similarly, if you're a gamer and you've got like that sort of graphical HUD and you want to, blow that up every once in a while, you can drag your cursor onto there and it'll switch to a scene that just zooms in on that, so on and so forth. As you mentioned, and we talked about, you can do a world of different media things. So if you have a video or even a playlist of videos, when it comes to the end of that, and not just the end, you could do it when it starts, you could have like something else trigger. But my use case example is, we're going to show this in a later in another video after we come back from our promo, but we'll play a video. At the end of that video, it's going to switch to another scene. And it'll daisy chain through a bunch of videos similar to a playlist, but because of the way we're doing it, it'll have different reasons to do it. But you could do something where that video starts and a pop-up show, comes onto the screen with information like a lower third or whatever, and you don't have to press that button. It automates for you. There is a random timer. A random trigger. So you could have it. I haven't played with this so much, but I believe you can have it just choose through a bunch of different things, and you could just switch between a bunch of different cameras. Really great if you're a DJ streamer and you just want to like have it just automatically switching to new cameras every couple of minutes or seconds. And, there's a bunch of others. You can also, do a pause and like turn off different triggers from the thing also. And which reminds me, I believe you're actually able to do hotkeys so that at a certain time, if you no longer want that sort of like maybe that regional, trigger to happen, like you're like, I'm not playing that game anymore. You want to turn that off, you can do it through a hotkey. But I do believe you can also create a sequence that will just turn it off for you when it sees that you've closed that program or switched to a different program. So there's a lot of stuff you can automate just to make your life simpler.
Nice. So Saeed's just saying, showing a lower third or promo every X minutes is a nice thing to use this for. Hello to Walter Strong III from Real Men Rising saying good evening, John and Sam. We are getting a lot of comments about the video quality on Sam's end. We do apologize.
Right,
like we're doing the best we can under some trying circumstances, but we might even be able to edit this together later on and make a slightly more high quality version of this. But that's the thing about live. Things go wrong, and I stuffed up my presentation a little bit earlier, and Sam's having some technical issues, but it's okay. We get to hang out. We get to have a good time. We get to learn a few things. I'm actually going to throw to the promo. We'll come back, and I kind of want to ask you a question before we get stuck into the next segment. So we'll do that in a second. Sure. This is the Video and Live Streaming Show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey gang, if you need help running a live stream or optimizing your YouTube channel, get in touch with me. I can help you get set up with live streaming, operate your stream, strategize your YouTube channel, and so much more. Hit me up at samproof.tv, and I'll talk to you soon.
And if you do need help with those live production services, you can reach out to Sam. Head over to samproof.tv for more information about that. I guess, like, kind of the thing I'm wondering a little bit about in terms of the scene switching. Like, can you? I guess what I'm wondering is like, if you potentially were running a 24/7 stream, which is something I've never done, but I know you've done some version of. I kind of wonder like if you could actually trigger different actions, maybe based on the day of the week. Is that
Oh, for
something
sure.
that you could do? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it absolutely is. There is a time function that gives you daily triggers. So yeah, you can totally do that.
And there's such a hilarious conversation about Sam potentially finding an old AOL disk and getting 300 free hours of internet access. But anyway, we won't worry about that too much. Let's get into this other video. So about daisy chaining. And again, is there anything that you want to tell us to set this one up, or should we just jump in?
I kind of already set this up. So let's just do it and I'll talk after. All right, we're going to take another look at the OBS Advanced Scene Switcher. If you didn't see my original video on how to get started, go check that out, and I'll give you some basics just to get going. But today we're going to take a look at setting up a daisy chain of a bunch of different triggers, including a timer countdown and then a series of media countdown or triggers that all switch into themselves so that you have a countdown to start soon, a welcome screen, an intro, a cold open about what your show is, that you might change that video every day or every stream, a little quick snippet about your guest, which you're going to change every show, and then go straight into your live camera feed. So that's a bunch of different switches that saves you time by automating so you don't have to be pressing buttons and hope you're getting the timing right. All right, so let's take a look at the Advanced Scene Switcher. We're going to first take a look at how I've set up OBS for this. Right now we're on our host cam so you can see me. Hi! And we've got a bunch of different scenes, including the starting soon screen with a timer, a welcome screen, a quick little branded intro. Hey, all right, that's me. A cold open where I tell you what's happening on the show, and a little guest intro about what our guest is, who our guest is, and then it'll go to this live camera feed. So we're going to go up to Tools and Advanced Scene Switcher. First, just so things aren't happening while we're doing all of this, we're going to stop the scene switcher and make sure it's just paused, and we'll remember to come back and start this up when we're ready. So the first thing we're going to do is our countdown timer. So when that 5-second timer gets to 0, it'll automatically go to our welcome screen. Now you could go over to time and set that up through this. For the sake of this particular tutorial, I don't want to do it this way. I am instead going to go over into sequence, and it is going to trigger when I go to that starting soon screen. So we are going to select scene and hit starting soon, and then our switch is going to be to the next scene, which is welcome, and that's going to happen at 5 seconds. So 5 right there, and we'll just use a cut for our transition. We don't have a lot of graphics going on, so we don't have anything to overlap with. So now, if we go back to general and turn on our scene switcher, we can close this out, go to our starting soon, and it's counting down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A switch. All right. Great, fantastic. Unfortunately, we haven't set anything else up, so when this welcome loop is done, it's just going to fade to black. All right, there you go. So we'll go back to Tools and Advanced Scene Switcher. We're going to, again, stop our switcher while we set things up. And this time, we're going to go into the Media tab. We're going to hit for a new prompt. And now our when becomes the media source itself, not the scene. So we're going to hit welcome.mp4, which is the media that we are playing, and we're going to look for the state is ended. And now we could add other parameters here, like to do this longer or shorter, but for the sake of this, we're just going to go with as is. We're going to switch to the scene. The next in the series is intro, and again, we're going to use a cut because we are not doing any kind of overlay there to composite a fade with. And now we're going to rinse and repeat for intro, cold open, and guest. So, all right, so I have built out those sequences. So it all starts with our sequence, which is when we hit that starting soon scene, it waits 5 seconds, which is the countdown, and then goes to our welcome scene, which plays media. So welcome is automatically going to play the welcome MP4. When that ends, it's going to go to our intro. Intro, again, that ends. It's going to go to our cold open file, which is called this. Our cold open is then going to go to our guest file, which is called this. It's probably an easier way to do this so that when you're dropping new media in every week, it automatically finds that. But for the sake of this example, this is how I did it. And we can look at even simpler workflows in the future. So now we should be good to go through all of these transitions. So starting with our countdown from 5 seconds into welcome, into intro, into the cold open, to the guest cam, and back to me here. Okay. And that will all work as soon as we start the advanced scene switcher. So we open it up, we hit the start button, close it, and now when we click on starting soon, our chain of events begins. Into our welcome, hands free. Into our intro. There's our cold open. This is a little bit about our guest. Hey, it's also me. And then back to me on the big old cam. So I hope that's helpful to you. If you know that your intros and your different things are going to be the same length of time, you're just going to be replacing it every week. You could do that as a different method that is a little easier, and we'll look at that in the future. But yeah, if you have questions or use cases you'd like to see built out, leave a comment and let me know, and I will try and make a video on that in the future. And as always, please like and subscribe to me over at youtube.com/samproof. And it's
Okay, well, that's really, really useful. I guess I have a couple of questions that pop into my head, and I'm sure they'll be relatively straightforward to answer. But I'm assuming that, maybe I shouldn't assume. Maybe I should just ask the question. So if you do have different scene collections, like, does it keep that kind of information separate?
So I believe each, the advanced scene switcher saves that per scene collection. It's not linked to the profile.
Okay, awesome. And I guess the other question, and I'm sure the answer is yes, but I'll get you to confirm it for me. Can you set it up so that it automatically starts the scene switching process when you hit record or stream, start stream?
Oh, that's a good question. I believe so. I would have to double check it, and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
I had a weird issue with crashing earlier, so I'm not really sure I want to open it right now. But
yeah, no worries.
Yeah. I wanna give a quick caveat. The clip that we just watched. For that, everything was very simplified. I did one video per scene, and they were just videos. It doesn't have to be like that. You could have you could have a scene that has multiple videos and it chains through those. And you might be like, but why wouldn't you just use a playlist? So in the example of like Coffee Morning, which was the show I used to do, and hopefully I'll be bringing that back. Every episode I had an intro, and then I had a cold open that would change every show. So the intro was always the same and the cold open was always different. And at the very last minute, I would take that thing because I recorded it right before the show, and I would drop it into a folder. So what I would do with the scene switcher is it would play the intro, and then it would switch to a playlist. And that playlist was one item, which was the long pour cold open, and that would just look to one directory and should only have one file in it, and it would play that as a playlist. When the playlist was finished, it would then switch to the next scene, which was me live. So you can, clearly do it a bunch of different ways. You don't have to have individual scenes per source.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and that's really quite useful. So Saeed writes, "Look, Mum, no hands," which I think is great, and especially at the beginning of your stream or your recording, whatever you're doing, like there's a really good chance you're thinking about a lot of different things. So if you can automate any of this, and whether it's via this or whether it's by the Stream Deck, I think it's always a good idea to explore that a little bit. Nathan is also saying that you're apparently a good guy because you apparently have the minimum number of ads set to run. So he appreciates that. So that's really cool. I am really curious, for those that are joining us live in the chat, were either of these plugins something you like to have a play with, or do you think they're a little bit outside of the scope of the things that you're doing? I'd be really interested to hear about that. But don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you happen to be watching this. We are going out live to all the various places. But I guess as we begin to wrap this up, Sam, where can people go to find more out about you and what your content and all the good things?
Before I promo myself, I just want to say I was looking at all of the possible tabs, and one of them is an audio tab. So if your stream gets too loud or gets to a certain volume, it can trigger a sequence, which I think could be really fun. I'm sure there's practical uses for that, but I think that would be a really fun thing. Anyway, you can find out more about me at samproof.tv. All of my social links are at the top left there, relatively in the order that I use them. So check those out. And if you didn't get enough cats today, head over to cuteavalanche.com and enjoy our 24/7 cat cam. We'll be doing a chat tomorrow morning, but other than that, it's running a playlist. Speaking of playlists.
Absolutely. And if you want to catch up with anything I'm doing, you can head over to johnlacey.com. I've got the podcast, a whole bunch of articles, and there are social links at the bottom of those pages. Come find me on YouTube and LinkedIn. It's generally where I like to hang out the most. So that would be really cool. So Saeed's saying that he tried the scene switcher a long time ago, but found himself going down a rabbit hole, was just playing around. I must admit, the advanced... I was going to say the advanced scene switcher, but I noticed the thing that I've actually got is the automatic scene switcher, which I haven't.
Automatic is that one's default. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't touched that in years, but I do like the idea of it. I'm kind of curious to play with the advanced scene switcher myself, so I think that would be really, really interesting. I should say too,
yeah,
if there are any. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think for a show that's as formatted as our show is, there's definitely a lot of use cases for it. Like when those promos happen, it can automatically switch back. When we're just getting started and we have the music going, it can do that for a minute and then switch into the show and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And if there are topics you want us to cover in the future, let us know in the comments what they might be, because we're always looking for something new and exciting to play with. But thank you so much for joining us today. Nathan's just saying YouTube streaming beats Twitch in many areas, especially video quality during streams. So, I mean, that's interesting. I don't personally do a lot on Twitch, but I know Sam does do a lot there. So maybe that's a discussion
but I
for a
also,
future show.
We do also multicast this stream to both of our YouTube channels, so you can also find us over there.
Absolutely. All right, well, have a great week. Have a great weekend when you get there. Thank you so much for your company today, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon.